Good evening. This is Sports Talk on a Budget. If you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe button right down there. Or if you prefer the audio version, you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or basically wherever you get your podcast. Today is January 24th, Thursday, January 24th, year of our Lord 2023. Of course, huge weekend, championship weekend. This is going to be a full football episode today because of this weekend. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the show. So first up of the day, I'm actually going to start off with the Buffalo Bills and just talk about them losing to the Chiefs and the title window overall for the Bills and Josh Allen. Is it still open, and do I see them as a team that can make a Super Bowl and potentially, obviously, win a Super Bowl as well? And then my second topic of the show is going to be my ultimate championship game breakdown. Going to break down both games. I give you the keys to both games, some of the X factors in both games as well, and then I'll eventually give you who I think is going to win the game and is going to be in the Super Bowl and is going to represent the AFC and the NFC in the Super Bowl. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the show. So as I mentioned, first topic is going to be about the Buffalo Bills. Another heartbreaking loss. Tyler Bass missed a field goal. They had some other issues going into the to that last play, but another heartbreaking loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. And now the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are currently 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And that seems to be their playoff bugaboo. And the question for me is the window still open for this team, the Bills and Josh Allen? And do I see them getting over the hump and actually getting to a Super Bowl and potentially winning a Super Bowl? So that's the question for me. Going to break down some of the factors I see. Like I said, 0-3 in the playoffs versus the Chiefs. So that, and this one that was their first game they've gotten against the Chiefs in the playoffs at home in Buffalo and still couldn't get the victory. And if you look at Josh Allen in his career, he is 5-5 in the postseason. But right now he's in the AFC, and there's three other major quarterbacks that he's most likely going to have to go up against year in and year out if he's going to make a Super Bowl. And that is obviously Patrick Mahomes, who he's 0-3 against in the playoffs. You have Joe Burrow, who beat him last year in the divisional round in Buffalo, so he's 0-1. And then he is 1-0 against Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, obviously, for the Baltimore Ravens. So 1-4 against the next big three quarterbacks in the AFC. And those are going to be the guys he's going to go up against. And a lot of people have said going into last weekend, Mahomes versus Allen is the new Brady Manning. That's not the case at all. Even when Brady was beating Manning year after year early on in both of their careers in the early 2000s, Peyton Manning was still winning MVPs. He was still basically an all-pro every year. Josh Allen only has 2 Pro Bowl appearances, has no MVP awards, and of course has never been to a Super Bowl, let alone won a Super Bowl, and has only played in one AFC Championship game. So very premature to have that. If you're actually going to compare Josh Allen to someone from that era, as of right now, it's more of a Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers got the one AFC Championship game, which he lost to the undefeated Patriots at the time. And he was a good quarterback. They won a lot of division titles in San Diego. He made a lot of playoff runs. They had a lot of number 1, number 2, number 3 seeds in the playoffs every year, but he couldn't beat Brady. He couldn't beat Manning, and some years he couldn't even beat Roethlisberger. And that is what we're looking at right now in the AFC and for Josh Allen. Can he get over the hump against those 3 quarterbacks? He's 0-4 against those other 2 of those quarterbacks in Burrow and Mahomes. And if you just look at this Buffalo Bills organization, it's very Josh Allen dependent. Stephon Diggs kind of faded down the stretch for the Buffalo Bills in the regular season. Did not have a good game against the Chiefs. Played decent against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card round, but a lot of people have said, "Oh, well, we know Josh Allen is going to get to a Super Bowl. We know he's going to, potentially win a Super Bowl." But that's what a lot of people said about Dan Marino when he got to Super Bowl his second year in the league. He never got back. That's what a lot of people said about Phillip Rivers. Oh, he'll eventually get there. He never did. Dan Fouts, one of the best early quarterbacks, one of the best kind of stat early quarterbacks in NFL history, never got to a Super Bowl. We all thought Aaron Rodgers, after he won his Super Bowl in 2010, would definitely get back there and at least win another one. He never won another one and never actually got back to a Super Bowl. So nothing is guaranteed in this league. You're not guaranteed to get to a Super Bowl just because you're an elite quarterback. And that's kind of the area the Buffalo Bills are right now. They're a good team. They're not a great team. And they're going up against great teams and great quarterbacks. And can they make the changes and the necessary improvements to close the gap with the Chiefs, of course, but also to be able to beat teams like Baltimore and Cincinnati on a year in, year out basis. And now you have CJ Stroud, an emerging star for the Texans in your conference as well. See if Trevor Lawrence can kind of be that guy that we thought he could be coming into the league. So there's a lot of competition in the AFC, especially at the quarterback position. And it's no guarantee that Josh Allen is going to be able to lead this team to a Super Bowl. And I mean, like I said, you just look at this last year, they had to basically win out down the stretch, go like 5-0 down the stretch just to make the playoffs. They were given like a 10% chance at 6-6 to make the playoffs. They turned it around, won their last 5 games and made the playoffs, but still, I just don't know about this team. You paid a lot of money for Von Miller 2 years ago, and he has really given you nothing. And he tore his ACL last year and was basically non-productive this year. And going into this offseason, the Bills have basically no cap space to spend on players. They have the 3rd lowest cap space in the entire league going into this offseason. So you're not going to be able to add talent. You're going to have to draft well, which they have done. I mean, Dalton Kincaid was a great addition to the team this year, and James Cook a couple of years ago. So they've been able to draft well, but with the low cap space and with the cap number that Josh Allen's going to be going forward, you're going to have to hit on a lot of drafts. You're just going to have to. You're going to have to hit on a lot of draft picks because you're not bringing in high-priced free agents because you don't have the money to pay them because most of your money is going to Josh Allen. And unfortunately, a lot of your money is also going to Von Miller, which was a decision that has not worked out. It may work out. I just don't think it will. But just looking at this team, another question is McDermott the guy? There's been no indication that they're going to get rid of him. It looks like he is going to be the guy for at least another year. They're going to go forward with him. He's 5-6 in the playoffs. He had one run with Tyrod Taylor. They got in the playoffs and went out in the first round. So a little under 500 with Josh Allen as his quarterback. So is he the guy? Is Joe Brady going to be the offensive coordinator going forward? I think Joe Brady kind of earned himself the offensive coordinator job, at least for next year, with the way he called plays down the stretch. But yes, Josh Allen, going back to Josh Allen, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But he is also a guy that can be very erratic. He is a guy that likes to play hero ball at sometimes. And if you watch that last drive for the Buffalo Bills, there was 3 plays that basically kind of encapsulate Josh Allen in a nutshell. You had the one play where he scrambles. I think it was on 3rd down. It was on 3rd down. They were at midfield. He scrambles out of the pocket. He goes to try to pick up the first down. He's running around. Ball is out. Ball gets knocked out. He fumbles. Kansas City, I don't know how they didn't recover it. They had like 3 opportunities to recover it. They did not. Buffalo gets the ball back, but that is Josh Allen in a nutshell. He can be a very, very turnover-prone quarterback. And then you have the last 2 plays. Now, I'm nitpicking a little bit. Josh Allen played incredible Sunday. He had an awesome game, so I'm nitpicking a little bit. But if you want to be one of the greats, if you want to be a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the league right now and is putting himself among the elites of all time, you need to make these plays. And those last 2 plays for the Buffalo Bills, you took the home run, the touchdown to Khalil Shakir. You got bumped a little bit by Chris Jones pushing your tackle into you. Not exactly your fault, but you had an easy completion underneath the Stephon Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs can turn that corner and potentially pick up the first down. Now you can waste more time off the clock and get an even more manageable field goal for your kicker, Tyler Bass, who's had his struggles of recent as well. And then you get to 3rd and 9. And he has Kincaid over the middle. It may not be a first down, but it's going to give you an opportunity to make a decision if you want to go for it on 4th down on that 3rd and 9. He doesn't do that. He forces the ball towards the end zone, which is not even close. So now it's 4th and 9. It's a 40-plus yard field goal in the weather, in the elements. And I've always been one of those guys. I don't want to leave my game up to a kicker. Especially as a quarterback, especially as an elite quarterback like Josh Allen is, I want to make sure I decide what happens and I decide how we're going to finish this game, not to leave it up to a kicker, especially in that kind of weather. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, Tyler Bass missed the field goal and you lose the game. So, like I said, that kind of encapsulates Josh Allen's career in a nutshell so far. He is a guy who has probably the highest ceiling of any quarterback in the league. When he is at his best, you can make an argument he is the best quarterback in the league. But unlike Patrick Mahomes, unlike Lamar Jackson, unlike Joe Burrow, and unlike other guys who can get close to his level, their floor is also a lot closer, because when Josh Allen is at his worst and is throwing interceptions, is fumbling, is just basically a turnover machine, his floor is a lot lower than the rest of the elite quarterbacks in the league. So they've cleaned up some of that down the stretch. He protected the ball very well down the stretch. They ran the ball a lot better. They have their bell cow running back in James Cook going forward, so that's going to really help them going forward. They haven't had that in Josh Allen's career so far, so the opportunity is there. I'm not going to say the window is closed for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, but it is starting to creep in a little bit. It's starting to creep in a little bit. He's getting older. You're basically the same age as Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow's younger than you. Lamar Jackson is younger than you. CJ Stroud is a lot younger than you. And it's just going to be difficult going forward to get to that area that they want to be. And especially with no cap space, when you're going to have to hit on a lot of draft picks and maybe make some good trades, it gets even more exceedingly difficult. So, like I said, the window is not closed for the Buffalo Bills, but it is starting to creep in a little bit, and they need to make the necessary adjustments to really make sure that they put themselves in the best opportunity that they have. And the best opportunity is the next 3 to 4 years, because, yes, Josh Allen is still in his 20s, he's in upper 20s, but the way he plays the game, the way he runs and he takes hits and he basically gives out punishment as well, he's probably not going to have that, 40-year-old career like an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady, of course. He's probably going to have a shorter career. So, like I said, the window isn't closed. It's just kind of creeping in a little bit. I still believe in this Bills team that they can get to a Super Bowl. I do believe in Josh Allen. He is starting to mature as a quarterback. He is starting to protect the ball even more. And when he wants to, he has the ability to be the best quarterback in the league. So I still believe in this team. I still think they can get to a Super Bowl, but the window is closing a little bit, but it is not closed. It's still ajar. It's still open. Let's go ahead and move to the championship game breakdown, and we're actually going to start in the AFC with the Chiefs at the Ravens. And the Ravens have moved to a 4-point favorite. This originally opened at 3, went to 3.5, and now is 4. So there is some money coming in on the Ravens in this game. Just wanted to kind of break down some of the key factors in this game. This is the 1 and 2, first and second ranked scoring defense in the league. These two teams. So both these teams, they know how to keep other teams out of the end zone. They're both in the top 5 in yards allowed in defense as well. So these defenses know how to shut down opposing quarterbacks and shut down opposing offenses. However, these teams did not face off in the regular season. They haven't faced quarterbacks at the level of these two other quarterbacks. You can say that the Chiefs did last week with Josh Allen, but it's a different animal with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are the most talented, athletic quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but they play a completely different style of football, so it is not exactly the same there. But Chiefs have finally found their footing, or are starting to find their footing on offense. They've had their worst year on offense under Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but they've played really well their first 2 playoff games. Now, yes, they did play a Miami team that was kind of depleted on the defensive side, as well as the Buffalo Bills, but Rashee Rice has had good games. Travis Kelce had a really good game against the Buffalo Bills. Marquez Valdes-Scantling showed up out of nowhere and actually caught the ball and had a good game against the Buffalo Bills. So the Chiefs seem to be playing well on offense at, of course, the right time, and that is something that you would expect from a team with this kind of pedigree. So that is something to watch out for. But just looking at the Ravens offense, they're just so versatile. They're so versatile. They can run the ball, whether it's Lamar Jackson, whether it's Gus Edwards, whether it's Justice Hill, whether it's who they just pick up, whether it's Cook that they just picked up last week, Dalvin Cook, who they just picked up last week. They can run the ball well, and they're throwing the ball really well. Zay Flowers is a really good rookie wide receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. can get his. Isaiah Likely has emerged in Mark Andrews' absence and has played really well. And now they are getting Mark Andrews back. It looks like he will play in this game. So now you're going to have even another weapon for this Ravens offense and for Lamar Jackson. And they came out a little rusty last week against the Houston Texans, but in the second half, they turned it on. Touchdown drive to start the second half, put the game away. So this is a team that is playing really well on offense. Lamar Jackson is most likely going to win the MVP, his second MVP. So, yes, they haven't faced the defense the caliber of the Chiefs just yet, but they did go up and down the field on the 49ers. They have played good defenses during the regular season and had their way with them. So, they could definitely have their way in this game as well. But, I mean, when you look at this Kansas City Chiefs team, as you can see, I'm a Patriots fan right behind me. This team reminds me a lot of the 2018 Patriots. If you go back to that 2018 season for the Patriots, not a lot of people doubted them throughout the season. It wasn't their best regular season that they had. They end up getting the 2 seed behind the Kansas City Chiefs. They get into the playoffs. Their first round playoff game, they're playing against the Chargers and just absolutely whoop the Chargers. They started to find their rhythm on offense. They go to the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game, and when it mattered most, who did Brady lean on? He leaned on Travis Kelce, he leaned on Rob Gronkowski, and he leaned on Julian Edelman. And those guys took them home. They ended up beating the Chiefs on the road in overtime and getting back to the Super Bowl. And it became, at that point, the reason they were winning games is they still had the best quarterback in the league in Tom Brady, and they still had the best coach in the league in Bill Belichick. And they leaned on their top guys. They leaned on Rob Gronkowski. They leaned on Julian Edelman. They leaned on their defense, which got better and better throughout the year and played really well in the postseason. And that's kind of the ingredients that this Chiefs team has. Do they have the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes? Yes, check. Do you have the best coach probably in the league in Andy Reid? Yes, check. Do you still have Travis Kelce, a guy like Rob Gronkowski that you know Patrick Mahomes is going to lean on, just like Tom Brady leaned on when he needed big plays in the AFC Championship game and also in the Super Bowl against the Rams as well? All the ingredients are there, and a lot of times when you get into the playoffs and you get into these big games, what matters most in the NFL is who's at quarterback, of course, and that's obviously Patrick Mahomes, and who is the head coach pulling the strings, and that is Andy Reid. And that was a big reason I thought they won the game last week against the Buffalo Bills. They were moving the ball at will, 9 yards per play last week against the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes looked comfortable the entire game, and Andy Reid looked comfortable calling plays. They were the better team last week. If they don't get that fumble in the end zone that goes out of the back on the side of the end zone from Mecole Hardman, they probably win that game going away against the Buffalo Bills. But because of that, it was closer. So it's hard to bet against the team in the league that has the best coach and best quarterback. That's the reason why the Patriots were so successful for so many years, because when it got tight, when games got tight and games got close in the fourth quarter, they could lean on their quarterback. They could lean on their head coach, who have been there and came through time and time again. And that's exactly what this Chiefs team can lean on, is their head coach and their quarterback, who they can count on to come through time and time again, because they have come through time and time again. So that's why I'm leaning towards the Chiefs to cover in this game. I like the Chiefs +4. That would be my play here as a bet, Chiefs +4. I think the Ravens probably win the game outright. They're just the better overall team, and Lamar Jackson is just cooking right now. He is playing that well, but it's hard for me to not only bet against the Chiefs to lose it at this point, but for them to not even cover a 4-point spread. That's really difficult for me to see. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Chiefs +4 in this game. If you're going to do money line bets, I still would probably lean towards the Chiefs because that's just better money line. But I think the Ravens will end up winning the game and going to the Super Bowl. But it's going to be very close. I think the Chiefs will keep it very close. They don't get blown out in these spots. They just don't get blown out. There's ingredients for them to potentially get blown out because just the way that the Ravens have been playing, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. They don't get blown out. The most I could see them losing by is a touchdown, 10 at the very, very most, but I don't see that happening either. But let's go ahead and move over to the NFC Championship game, and that is, of course, the Lions at the 49ers. And the 49ers are a whole touchdown, 7-point favorite in this game. And just wanted to kind of go over some of the keys in this game as well. So San Francisco, they have a lot of names on defense, whether it be Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead. They have a lot of big names on defense, but their defense has not performed nearly what you thought they would perform to with the names that they have on the defensive side. They're not good at stopping the run. They gave up over 130 yards last week to the Green Bay Packers. And Right now, if you look at this Lions offense, Jahmyr Gibbs is playing out of his mind right now and is one of the best offensive threats in the league right now. He's looking like, and then you pair him with a guy like David Montgomery, who was he's your short yardage back, he's your goal line back, and he is a good change of pace back as well. So the Lions, I could definitely see leaning on their two running backs in both Gibbs and Montgomery to really kind of slow this game down and get this game playing into their hands as well. And another thing, when you have Chase Young and you have Nick Bosa, you would think they would get after the quarterback a lot. But the 49ers weren't even a top 10 team in sacks in the regular season. They're not getting after the quarterback. They didn't sack Jordan Love once last week, and they only really had a couple of hurries and a couple of hits on the quarterback. And I actually think the Lions' offensive line with Penei Sewell is a better offensive line than the Green Bay Packers. And when you let Jared Goff sit back in the pocket and he's not under pressure, he can pick you apart. And he's got the guys to throw to, whether it be Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether it be Sam Laporta, who seems to just get healthier and healthier as the rounds go on in the playoffs. You got Reynolds, you got Jamison Williams, you got Gibbs out of the backfield. He was a real receiving threat out of the backfield. If you don't get after Jared Goff, which the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not, he was able to pick them apart, and he could do that to this San Francisco team as well. Another big factor is Deebo Samuel did not practice today and is currently a 50-50 chance to play in this game. Deebo Samuel missed 3 games during the regular season. We missed 2.5 basically, and the 49ers went 0-3 in those games. Yes, Trent Williams wasn't in those games, but the 3 games he missed, there are the 2.5 games that he missed, they went 0-3 in those games. So he went out, I think, in the first half against the Cleveland Browns, and then missed the next 2 games against the Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals in the midway point of the season. They went 0-3 in those games, and Brock Purdy did not play well. That was his worst stretch of the season by far. So Deebo Samuel is a big threat. You saw the kind of the change it had in the game against the Packers, where that was a game they definitely could have lost and maybe should have lost, but Purdy, give him credit, he did go down the field and lead that last drive and was 6-6 on that last drive, including like a 12-yard scramble as well. So credit to him there, but you could see the change that it makes when you don't have a difference maker in Deebo Samuel. Yes, they still have Brandon Ayuk. Yes, they still have George Kittle. Yes, they still have Christian McCaffrey. So they still have a ton of weapons all over their offense, but Deebo Samuel is their ultimate difference maker. He's that ultimate Swiss Army knife, and he's that guy when you get the ball in his hands, good things happen. Good things happen when you get the ball in his hands. So that's going to be tough there. If he's not able to go, that really does kind of hamstring them a little bit, and that kind of really plays into the favor of this Detroit Lions defense, which is not great in the secondary. Detroit can guard the run and they can stop the run, and I think they'll kind of load the box and make Brock Purdy beat them and not Christian McCaffrey beat them. But their secondary isn't great. Brian Branch is a young safety. He's getting better. Their corners are susceptible, so you can have guys like Ayuk and Kittle get their yards. But like I said, I think the Lions are comfortable with loading the box and saying, we're not letting Christian McCaffrey, who's probably one of the top 3 to 4 players in the league, beat us. Like he was kind of the difference maker in beating the Green Bay Packers last week. We're going to make you beat us, Brock Purdy, because we like our chances of you not beating us versus having Christian McCaffrey run all over us. And Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line has gotten pressure. They sacked Baker Mayfield a couple of times last week and turned him over. If they can kind of rattle Brock Purdy and get in his head a little bit, can that force the game into their hand a little bit as well? Of course, this San Francisco team, even with the injury to Deebo Samuel, is still loaded on the offensive side. You heard the guys I mentioned, whether it's Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. There's been other guys that have stepped up in the absence of Deebo Samuel as well when he's not there. Trent Williams is one of the best offensive tackles in NFL history. So this is still a team that is very, very stout. But last week, I think, was a real eye-opener for me. This San Francisco team, they're front runners. They like to get ahead. They like to kind of impose their will. They get ahead. They get a lead. Then they lean on you with Christian McCaffrey, impose their will, and then they let their pass rushers, and they start to blitz you and start to get after your quarterback a little bit. So they are front runners. But if you can get a lead early on this San Francisco team, you can get them a little tight, Kyle Shanahan is not a coach that coaches well from behind. We saw that stat on the TV last week over and over again against Green Bay. So he is not a great coach coming from behind. So if Detroit can get in there, get an early lead, get it a little tight on the 49ers, who are 7-point favorites, so they're a pretty heavy favorite, especially for a championship game, that could change a lot of things. With all that being said, I'm going to roll with the Lions to cover. So give me the Lions +7 in this game. I think the Lions keep this game close. At the end of the day, I do think the 49ers end up winning. They are the better overall roster, better overall team. It is closer than a lot of people think, but they are the better overall team. So I think they win, but give me the Lions to cover. So the Lions +7 is my pick here. So, yes, I had both underdogs covering, but I had both favorites winning their games. So that would set up 49ers-Ravens Super Bowl. Who knows? It could be Lions-Chiefs. Who knows what could happen? But I really like these matchups. I think these are actually the four. You can make an argument these were the four best teams for most of the year. I know the Eagles started off hot early on, and the Cowboys came on at the end, and then of course the Bills came on at the end. But these were probably the four most consistent teams throughout the season. And this Lions team is not a Cinderella story. They're a legit team. They're a legit roster. They have dudes all over the offense, and they have dudes stepping up on defense, getting better and better each week. So they're not just a walkover to the Super Bowl for the 49ers, and that's why I think they cover in that matchup. But that has been my championship game breakdown. And this, of course, is Sports Talk on a Budget. Thank you for listening and watching, whatever you prefer. If you prefer the video version, of course, it is on YouTube under Sports Talk on a Budget. Like and subscribe to the show when you do watch. I would appreciate that. And if you prefer the audio version, you can find it, of course, as I said in the beginning, on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or basically wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you again for watching and listening, and have a great day.